Well, how do you feel like practice went today? How prepared do you guys feel going into game week?
Yeah, we feel good. I think, just before you even get into this week, this has been an extremely competitive camp from every aspect of everybody on the team. So I think when you have that type of competitive camp, it's realistically been probably the most competitive camp I've ever been a part of. So when you have that type of competitiveness going on and then you get into the game week, I think you just feel good in terms of how much you put in through fall camp. And look, you're going in through this week, you're not throwing a bunch of stuff at our players. It's everything that we have just got done running to all the looks that our defense has shown. So we feel really good, and I think we had a really good practice today. You could hear it. There was a lot of energy, especially for one of those days that was a little more scout orientated. I thought there was a lot of energy, which is what we've been stressing a lot, especially with the offense.
I know the conversation this fall camp was that you guys have been further ahead than last year. How much did that help in the prep for Weber State this week?
Yeah, I think that helped because when you put a lot of stuff in for fall camp, then you're not getting to each individual game week and saying, I want to add, 25% of something here, 25% of something there. So when you kind of ran everything in fall camp, it's not like they're getting, onto Monday or Tuesday's practice for the game prep and we're putting something brand new at them. Obviously, the defense that's going to be presented is going to be a little different, but at the end of the day, it's still all of the base stuff that we've ran up until this point.
Talk about the competition in camp, because when we talked to Coach Chesney yesterday, he said the same thing. Is that just from like the depth on this team, or is that just kind of like a mindset thing from the guys coming in? Or?
Yeah, I think it's the mindset, right? I think that's a really good question. It comes from a lot of different angles. You just look at like practices in fall camp, people didn't want it to end. Like we had overtime periods and the players were always screaming overtime because that's just their way of saying, I want to keep playing. So I think at the end of the day, it comes from them, right? And a lot of it probably has something to do with the depth, that everybody has played a lot of football, everybody has played competitive football, but they just love this game. They love competing and they love going at it with one another.
Early preparation for Weber State, what has kind of stood out with them as you guys get set for them?
Yeah, I think they're a team that plays really hard, right? And I think that's something that we 100% have to match. They do a lot of different things with their front. They have a lot of different pressures, so I think that's something that we got to make sure we're focusing in the pass game, the run game, everything. But the first thing I think that stands out on tape is just how their ability that they play through the whistle.
How do you guys make sure you come out fast and try and capitalize on something like them having to make a long trip out here?
Yeah, I think a lot of that it obviously is about Saturday, right? Because you're preparing everything, and everything that you've done up to that point is about Saturday. But it's how we've done it through fall camp, right? It's how we've done it through, how we're going to do it through this week. So yeah, Saturday is how we're judged from the results standpoint, but the preparation that we put in, how we practice and how we have been practicing, that's going to really set the benchmark of when we show up on Saturday, that it's just another day for us, right? And obviously we have the ability to play someone that we haven't played before. So I think all of the preparation that has gone through fall camp, and we have to make sure that we are continuously doing that through the rest of the week in terms of showing up and competing and just treating every rep like it is the last rep on earth.
I know Coach yesterday said that Zoe had been cleared for contact. What have you seen out of him over the last 8 months to allow him to get to this point? Kind of still early in what would have been the rehab process.
Yeah, obviously it's a long journey. Just in general, anytime you get injured, regardless of the injury, you go through that what if, phase where you're sitting down, you're not able to play. So there's a lot that goes in from the mental side of things, but I think what I've seen is before he even got on the field, he just put a lot of work to make sure he had the opportunity to potentially play. So I think there is a lot of stuff behind the closed doors, behind scenes, right, where he made sure that he was always in the training room, making sure that he was, going to have an ability to play for the season, and he did all that.
I think finally get to hit somebody else. So makes it fun. Makes it fun to start thinking about it and seeing it, visualizing it, but still a long way to go to Saturday, so keep getting better every day.
What stands out about Weber State as you guys prepare for them?
Well, I mean, just the tradition of the program. You kind of have an idea of what you're walking into, a group that's hungry, probably a little disappointed on how the season went last year, but a team that's played some big games in their history against this program, and it means a lot for them to come beat us. So when a team's hungry and they're preparing really hard, you know you're going to face their best shot, and they're a physical football team, which is exactly how we would want it.
Weber State last year was a team that struggled with some turnovers throughout their games, and then this defense obviously has some guys that were really good ball hawks last year. How do you make sure that they're capitalizing on that?
Well, I mean, we always practice takeaways and stuff like that. I don't think it matters who the opponent is. I think, they've had a lot of turnover. as far as roster goes. So, it's a little bit less of saying attack this guy with his ball security or something that maybe you might have later in the season. Right now, we're just focused on what we do to take the ball away and how we find our way to get hands on the ball.
What is that preparation like when you're preparing to face an offense that's going to have some new features or new faces?
Yeah, I think, you're always prepping somewhat for the unexpected. You have kind of a lot of film from last season, but a totally different team. So you don't know exactly what you're going to get, but we can focus on ourselves and just make sure we're executing our calls at the highest level possible and be ready for whatever they throw at us.
How do you feel the energy has been in practice leading up to week
Great.
1?
I mean, these guys, this team in general, the leadership of Trent and JT, I mean, they just, every day they bring energy. It's a lot of fun to get out here and start talking about an opponent, even though you don't know exactly what you're going to get. It's, hey, here's this player or this play, and that makes it fun.
When we were just talking to Dean, and even Coach said it yesterday when we talked to him, they were talking about how competitive this camp was, one of the most that they've seen. I'm curious, do you kind of feel that way, and what do you think is kind of attributed to what has made this camp so competitive?
Really good players, right? The offense has a lot of talent, a lot of returning players that have made plays, whether it be here or at another school. So you got a hungry group that's competing against each other for playing time and positions, and offense that's competing against the defense because they want to win every day. So you wouldn't ask for it any other way.
You mentioned the skill of the offense that you guys have right now. How much have you seen your defense kind of improve just seeing them every day in practice?
Yeah, you're only as good as the players you get to play against on a day-to-day basis, and it's definitely made us better when you got a whole room of wide receivers that have a wide variety of skill sets, and you got to play kids differently. You got to use different techniques, and that makes you better as the course of the season.
Back in New Orleans, I talked to Coach Chesney about Amar, and he was someone that he wanted to see take a step forward this year. What have you seen out of him so far, kind of growing into a bigger role on the defensive line?
Yeah, I mean, he played a lot of snaps last year, even though he wasn't the starter. But he loves football. He brings a lot of energy to the front, and he's a physical kid. Every day he's hitting somebody hard. So it makes it fun to coach him because he cares a lot about it, and he gets better every day.